and we are reaching the chapter 5, which is called Guarding Introspection. The title itself actually is quite explicit as regarding the fact that it is fundamental for our practice to apply a very correct care to what is happening in our mind constantly. It is important because all mistaken perceptions and actions are taking roots from within our minds when we do not pay enough attention. Most of the time that we are engaging in a mistaken action, or that we start to talk wrongly or inappropriately, it is because we have not paid attention to the development of disturbance within our thoughts. Our mind is actually often compared to an elephant, and to start with, it looks like a wild elephant. So an elephant actually is an animal of great strength who can be destroyer of a lot if not guarded correctly, if not tamed. And at the same time, if correctly tamed, the elephant can be a very powerful and strong ally in our work. So in the same way that we try to make the best use possible of an elephant, we need to pay attention to our mind, not to leave the mind wild, otherwise running without any control through our thoughts, it can destroy a lot of virtue. When we are in a situation where we could be injured, where we could experience pain, we are usually developing a lot of attention. If you are, let's say, walking on the sea coast and you know there are sea urchins under the water, you pay a lot of care. Yes, you will keep constantly careful not to step on a sea urchin because you don't want to experience suffering. Yet, we know that a mind which is not guarded correctly will create negative karma, which in return will bring unpleasant or painful situation. So the paradox is here. We pay a lot of attention to not experiencing any physical pain, but we tend to forget completely about how much our mind is creating the causes for future pain. It is said that whatever we have heard as a teaching, what we have pondered upon and cultivated within our meditation, is like water in a broken jar, meaning that it does not remain in our mind because of the lack of introspection. Even the people who have a great faith and a strong perseverance can become defiled if there is a fault in introspection, if we lack this capacity of introspection. So this is to stress and to emphasize on the need to develop and emphasize on this capacity to observe the mind as it works, as it produce thoughts, but also on the capacity of analyzing what did happen, analyzing correctly which kind of mistake eventually we have gone through, and benefiting from this introspection in order to take the decision not to repeat such mistake in the future. In that chapter there is also an emphasis on awareness regarding how the body behaves. So the way we act, the way we engage in activities has also to be taken care of in order to do not get sometime carried on by our activities. The text, for example, give a certain amount of examples and says that, as also an example, if we need to call somebody, we try to do it with a certain restraint or a certain, how do you say, containment. Yes, in contained way, restrained way, in a certain restrained way. As otherwise, if we start to jump and to wave a lot and shout loudly, also the mind tends to get wild and disturbed. This is also the chapter in which we find a certain amount of example and the advice to remain as a piece of wood. Yes, you might have heard this several times already in the teachings. So it says that if the mind, if we find out that our mind is full of pride or tends to be tend to wish to engage in any kind of negative thoughts or negative activities, then let I remain same as a piece of wood. So I will read the line 51, 52 and 53 of the text, which says, when my mind seeks material gain, honor and fame, or when it seeks attendance and service, then I will remain still, like a piece of wood. When my mind is averse to the interest of others and seek my own self-interest, or when it wishes to speak out of a desire for an audience, then may I remain still like a piece of wood. When it is impatient, indolent, timid, impudent, garrulous, or biased in my own favor, then I will remain still as a piece of wood. So, in the framework of the practice, we shall consider our body as a vehicle, and naturally we wish the vehicle to go where we wish it to go, and not otherwise. So, we can see how many times we or others tend to first speak out or act and then think. And sometimes think, well, I should not have said that, or I should not have done that. So what did happen in this case? It means we were not in control of our own body, which almost seems to have moved out on its own. And later on we come to realize. So the old text says, better be careful about your mind and how your mind will move your body and engage in activity beforehand, not after. So as other example, the text said that we should not pull the chairs or move around the chairs noisily, slam the door or act in a noisy way. But at the contrary, one should always appreciate and delight in silence and moderate expression. In the same way, controlling our body and mind, we would try to give up. How do we say this? To give up frowning.
Frowning.
Yes. Yes. And at the contrary, be the one who smile, who greets the others whenever there is the opportunity. And we can ask ourselves why actually we walk or we behave like cranky old person. Right? This takes place when actually we do not pay attention to what is happening in the mind. And so we develop a kind of bad thoughts and bad moods, and everybody else is responsible for what is happening to us. And it is like a circle. We just produce more and more negativity, and we get more and more annoyed, and it shows on the face. And we don't care what the others are thinking about because we are in a bad mood.